from the Business Radio X studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio.
Welcome back to Cherokee Business Radio. I'm your host, Joshua Kornitsky, professional EOS implementer. And today we've got a great show that I can't wait to get to. But before we get started, I want to tell you that today's episode is brought to you in part by our community partner program, the Business Radio X Main Street Warriors, defending capitalism, promoting small business, and supporting our local community. For more information, please go to mainstreetwarriors.org. And a special note of thanks to our title sponsor for the Cherokee chapter of Main Street Warriors, Diesel David Inc. Please go check them out at dieseldavid.com. My guest today is Dr. Zach Walker, a chiropractor and functional neurologist. He is the founder of Brain Spine Chiropractic based in Marietta, where he works to improve performance and address the root causes of pain and dysfunction. His approach goes beyond traditional chiropractic care, focusing on the connection between the brain, balance, and movement to uncover what's really driving symptoms. Welcome, Dr. Walker. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Joshua. I need you on every time I'm meeting someone, I need you to be with me every time. That was awesome.
I'll be your herald. I'll announce you. I'm happy to have you here. Before we get into the brain spine chiropractic and all that you're doing there, will you tell us a little about yourself, kind of your origin story, where you started from to get to here?
Yeah. So, most chiros and anyone you talk to, they have like a big, I was adjusted once and it changed my life. Mine's not that drastic, right? But the big thing that comes to mind, my senior year of high school, we're filling out our ACT, SAT. I'm not even sure if that's a thing anymore.
It is.
And before you do that, right, it asks, what are your interests outside of school? What do you like doing? So once you got your results back, it would give you, hey, maybe you should look into blah, blah, blah. And my first 3 or 4 was like physical therapist, athletic trainer, massage therapy. But the last one was chiropractic. I'd never heard of chiropractic. This was, I'm not going to date myself. This was a while ago,
Okay.
right? That was about 04, 05. But luckily I was able to do a senior project and kind of mentor a local chiro. And it was really cool being able to see even traditional neck pain, back pain patients come in feeling a lot better, or at least feeling better without a lot of medications and these things once they left. So that really piqued me of the anatomy and physiology and just the human body in general. And then ever since then, did my bachelor's in exercise science, master's in positive psychology, and then my doctorate in chiropractic. The human body I love it. I think it's so fascinating, and even more so the brain. And then, since Dr. Chiropractic, getting my what's called the DAC&B, Diplomate Accredited Chiropractic Neurology Board, just fancy word for being able to look at the brain a little bit more.
Okay.
Just fascinates me. And just since then, just delving into it and helping as many people and patients as I can.
All right. So then let's jump in. I've been to a chiropractor a number of times throughout my life, always had positive results, but what's brain-based chiropractic mean?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So most chiros, and if you're going to a chiropractor, massage therapist, acupuncturist, they're very good at looking at what's called the musculoskeletal system, your muscles, joints, tendons, ligaments, all that fun stuff, right? The super important system, right? But there's 3 systems that our body's always using to navigate the world.
Okay,
One
what
being
are those?
proprioception. What's that?
I was saying, what are those?
Yeah. So one being what we call proprioception, or I call it your spidey sense, right? Spider-Man, there's actually a new Spider-Man, coming out, right? And you have those alert signals, right? We could be having conversations like this, and you kind of always know what's going on in the background, even though you're not, we're not owls, right? Kind of your peripheral
Right, but
vision.
that pain in my lower back from sitting up straight, that type of thing?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, that's your muscles and joints trying to fire, and the brain's like, I'm having a hard time communicating. That's system 1. System 2 is eye movements. You should be able to follow this and go here, follow this and go here. We're doing those almost 300,000 times a day. Quite a bit. Almost like you're reading a
Insane.
book. It's a lot, right? And the other one's going to be, I should be able to look at you and turn my head whether my eye is shooting off or feeling like I'm going to that side, right? So I'm saying all this to say brain-based chiropractic takes all 3 of those, right? And
Okay.
sees which one is dysfunction, which one is the communicating, right? And how can we allow those systems to work better to allow you to be the best athlete in you.
Okay, that seems much more comprehensive, and because it's looking at all of the systems, not just one.
Right. I mean, it is another specialty, and it's these 3 systems that feed into other systems. They feed into the pain, to balance, for posture, concentration, to, many different aspects of life that you wouldn't think they would feed into, right? But at the end of the day, if your brain and body can communicate, right, that's huge. Because most chiros look at the spine, which is super, super important. We do that each and every day, even twice on Sunday, right?
Right.
Well, not Sundays, right? But again, we're saying as most chiros, all the nerves originate from the spine. They don't really originate from the spine. They actually originate from the brain, right? We have what we call different nuclei in the brain, or fancy word for kind of like hubs, so that's where everything starts, right?
Okay.
Starts here and kind of fires down. So if we're not looking at the brain, we're missing a big piece.
So, in the world of chiropractic, are you a super specialist that people get referred to, or do you see all sorts of patients? Who do you see in your clinic?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question too. I mean, it is a subspecialty. I mean, chiropractic has a lot of specialties, if you will, from geriatrics, older people, to pediatrics, to more I just want to look at X-rays all day. But the neuro is kind of its own thing, right? We do see a lot of neck pain, back pain, right? That's
Okay, so
absolutely
you
a lot of
do traditional chiropractic care as
sure,
well.
yeah. But a lot of times with neck pain and back pain, if I were to tell you the pain you've had the last 6 days, 6 months, 6 years, right, isn't from your neck, you're like, "I don't what?" Yeah, it is,
Right.
it hurts right here, right? But again, unless you just had a big accident, and even with that, there's exceptions, but unless you had a big accident, your muscles and joints, tendons are only going to respond what the brain tells it to do, right? So
I
kinda going
follow that,
back
yeah.
yeah, so kinda going back to the eye movement, right? If it's hard for you to look from this target to this target with just a quick eye movement, the brain's like, "I don't like that, I get dizzy every time you do that, so I'm gonna kick in a neck mechanism to look over here," which is fine to an extent. If
So,
you're
that's a compensation when
the
that happens?
compensation
Yeah.
exactly. Um, this is where compensations aren't necessarily good or bad, it's allowing you to get throughout your day,
Right,
right?
but it's typically not how the system was designed to function, right?
You nailed it, right? Because again, we just said these eye movements, we're using those, let's say, 250,000 times a day, right? Your neck isn't designed to move that many times. If you do that even remotely, you're gonna have neck pain, right? We could adjust you, we could give you all the best manual therapies, which is important, right? But again, once you go out in the real world, you're gonna keep doing this. We keep doing something over and expecting a different result. Insanity, right?
Fair enough. And that makes sense to me though, but I'd never considered it from a perspective of my body compensating for a challenge, right? It's just
Sure.
because I gather that it's almost autonomous, that it's kind of like when you twist your ankle and your body starts to limp, you don't consciously decide to limp, you
Yeah.
just limp.
Yep. No, I mean, that's a perfect example because your body and brain doesn't like being tired, doesn't like, being in pain, doesn't like being dizzy, right? No one does. So it's gonna try to do everything it can compensate, right, to allow you to get throughout your day, but eventually this compensation needs another compensation, and it spirals, right?
Different level of clarity for me than I've had before. So I want to talk a little bit more about the brain, because you said that all the nerve endings start there, not in the spine. So is the spine in some cases, I'm going to use my terminology, not yours. Is it where the nerve ends, or it just winds through? And tell us more about the brain side of this.
Yeah. So with the spine, right? The spine is super, super important. You can think of it as a conduit, or like, we're in Atlanta here. It's 75, it's 285, right? Everyone's
Okay.
using it, whether you want to or not, right?
Sometimes it's real slow.
Yeah, right. You can think of the brain as kind of your house, right? That's where you live. That's where you reside, right? Um, with the spine, right? In chiropractic and really in neuroscience, before you do any movement, before you pick a coffee cup up or you go to the gym and do squats and deadlifts, your spine has to be the first thing that is stable and fires. If it doesn't matter what you do, you're gonna have injuries, right? We all know someone that can squat 200, or not even two, they can squat 600 pounds of deadlift, 800, or bench all this, but yet they go to Costco, Walmart, and pick up groceries and I think I slipped a disc.
Okay, that's not funny, but it's true.
Well, we hear it a lot, and
Yeah.
if you don't know that person, you probably are that person, right? But I'm mentioning that to say the spine, when we're working out, we're racing, core stability, we're getting organized, right? But if we're not having that same mentality each and every day, or being the best athlete in you comes into play, we're gonna have issues, right? So that's the spine, right? The brain, though, is the CEO. It processes everything, right? It's the one that's processing the eye movements, the head movement, that proprioception or spidey sense, right? The spine isn't processing it, it's just taking in information, right? It's gathering information and then sending it to the brain, basically.
Okay. Fair enough. So it is more the, even though we think of it as, oh, I hurt my back, it's sort of the, forgive the expression, sort of the tail end of the loop, because your brain sent the, if I'm following correctly, your brain has sent the command, and you're feeling it in your spine. That's not, it doesn't go the other way around.
I would say you're actually feeling it in the brain.
Oh,
The brain it Yeah, the brain itself, doesn't have pain receptors, but let's say you you have low back pain, right? It's just that area, that receptor, that area is firing, right? But it's the brain's job to know where the pain is, what type of pain is, how long has it been there, how are we gonna compensate, right? Then it fires down to, "Hey, I'm gonna make that area a little tighter," right? Because I don't know when you're gonna injure it.
okay. So it triggers the response of the tightening up of the muscles.
Right. Yep.
Okay, so now take me deeper into the brain, because we talked about different parts of it, and I don't want to mispronounce them. So
No, sorry, go ahead.
no, 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 you had, there was one particular part that you had shared with me is particularly crucial to this, the homunculus. Did I say it right?
So yeah, so the homunculus, is not necessarily part of the brain, but there are parts of the brain that require that homunculus. So what I mean by that,
So yeah,
uh
back it up and explain it, because I sort of understood it, and now you
yeah.
can help me understand it.
No, it's another really good question. So your brain has maps of the entire body. It knows where your nose is, your ear is, your big toe, right? This allows you so you're not bumping into stuff, right? You can have coordination of movement, right? We have this what we call frontal lobe that allows us to ski, to jump, gymnastics, play soccer, whatever it is, right? But this homunculus is allowing us to move better. Um, I mention this because if you look up brain homunculus, right? Um, you might get nightmares, but what the brain homunculus looks like is essentially what your brain thinks your body looks like. So when
Oh,
you look at this, you're going to have big lips, big eyes, big nose, big hands, big feet, because we're always grasping stuff. We're always typing. We should be always moving. So talking, eating. So these areas need to be super, super specialized because we're always using those, right? They need to be super, super quick.
right,
At the same time, if you look at the homunculus, you'll see the spine. It's a lot smaller and essentially skinnier than everything else. But yet we just said the spine and core is the first thing that has to fire before you fire anything else. So we're already, as amazing as the brain and body is, we're already at a deficit of not knowing where our spine is compared to everything else. So
because
this is
unless it's
where
hurting, I don't really feel it.
that, and also we don't have just as good of a representation as everything else.
Okay,
Right? But yet this is where a lot of neck pain, back pain, this is where chiropractic really comes into play, especially adjusting these areas because the adjustment, right? The cracking and popping, um, it allows better ranges of motion to occur, but it sends better signals. It updates that homunculus, right? So we can move better. If we can move better, we have decreases in pain. We trust movement more. So it's at least here in the office when we're adjusting, I care about your pain, but I don't care about your pain. You having pain tells me nothing. It's just another sign and symptom.
right.
I'm more focused on are the making sure your maps are updated, making sure eye movements are good, making sure balance is good, because these are the systems that feed in so you don't have pain, tightness, discomfort, dizziness, all the above.
Okay, I'm following it so far. So just because I wanna better understand, is the homunculus, that's a great word for
Is it
Scrabble.
right?
Is that part of your, it's part of your sense of not self, but self, your, it's sort of the inventory of the anatomy? Is that, and
Yeah,
do
I mean,
you
so in
directly
order,
work
no,
to impact that? How does it tie into the brain-based chiropractic?
Yeah. So in order, this homunculus needs to be updated every millisecond of the day, right? If not, then that's going to create pain, tightness, discomfort, vertigo, and all this, right? So there's three aspects that the brain and body needs each and every day. One being oxygen, breathing, kind of why it's important.
It is important, yes.
A little bit, right? The other one being glucose. Glucose is essentially why we should be eating healthy, right? Glucose being like sugar, right? But it's one of those where if you're out of 100% of the glucose a day, just the brain itself, nothing else, just the brain itself uses about 40% of that.
Just as fuel to
For
operate.
fuel, just to not even do its job, but to just be alive, just
Okay.
basic level, right? The other one, and alluding to what your question was, the other one is stimuli. This is why movement is key. We keep talking about updating these maps, right? If these maps aren't updated, the brain's not going to know where you're at. They can lead to tightness, stiffness, bumping into stuff. If these maps aren't updated, um, then the brain's not getting good feedback. You have a homunculus for the entire body. You also have a homunculus for eye movements. Super important. If you can't use proper eyes, if you can't go from one target to the another, and instead of the eye is going from here to here, and we see these beats, it's letting us know you don't really know where your body is in space, and or you don't know where different objects are in space. Super important because you can't communicate to
Sure.
your surrounding, right? Um, one example I would quickly give people listening or just in general, if you put your fingers right here, in the back of
Okay.
your skull, and do these quick eye movements, you'll feel muscles contract. Those aren't your muscles of the eye. Muscle of the eyes are here. So
Right.
how could eye movements cause the spine to fire? It's the same system.
Okay.
If you have
I
issues in some form or fashion, you're going to have a spine issue, especially in the neck.
Something I definitely would not have connected. So that makes sense to me. So for the folks that come in for treatment with you, is it clearing the pathway for better communication that I'm oversimplifying, obviously, because everybody's going to be different, but clearing that communication pathway is what leads to better updating?
Yeah. I mean, there's, yeah. To make it as simple as possible, there's three things that the brain and body's doing. One being it's getting information from light, sound, pain, things you're touching. Okay. The brain has to make sense of it. Oh, what are you doing? How are you doing? Or what's going on? And then some type of output. So what we're doing in the office is, like you just alluded to and mentioned, the better that communication can be, homunculus is being updated, eye movements are better, spine is better, balance is better. So whatever you're doing outside of the office, not only can you do better, but you can trust the movements. Um, and even if and when you do have injuries, it's not as severe because again, everything is more they're talking
It's an
better.
optimized system. It's gonna be performing at a
Yes,
higher
sir.
level. So that brings me to the question, is this something for an elite athlete? Is this for my mom? I mean, is this everybody that can benefit from this? Or where does this type of treatment, how is it most effective? For whom is it most effective?
The short answer is, to answer your question, yes. So what I mean
Okay.
by that is quickly go back to what is being an athlete, right? So our big thing, our motto in here is being the best athlete in you. We have to,
Okay. So explain that
yeah,
so that I follow.
perfect. So we have to break down what an athlete is, right? The most simplest form, an athlete is being optimized at whatever your sport is. So we can see high-end D1 athletes, the NCAA athletes on the field for injury performance prevention, helping with concussions on the field, right? But also off the field. If there's, I'm gonna ask you a question, Joshua. So,
Okay.
what is one sport, no matter who you are, if you're 8 years old or 80 years old, right? There's one sport that we're always coming in contact with each and every day. It has the highest highs and the lowest lows. What sport would that be?
Running?
I would say the sport of life,
Okay.
right? As kind of out there and silly as it sounds, right?
No, I mean, it's, unless you don't have the ability to have movement, which sadly some don't, but if you're able to move around, it is life.
So If you can move around, for sure, right? But even if you can't move around, we're still doing some form of eye movement. You're still taking in information in some form or fashion, right?
So what's the best athlete in you?
So the best athlete in you is no matter what you're trying to do on or off the field, can you do whatever it is you're doing optimized? Going back to those three systems, right? Can we have proper eye movements? Can we have proper head movement for balance? Can we update that homunculus, right? If we can, no matter what you're doing it to your best ability. It doesn't mean you're never going to have pain, tightness, and discomfort, right? But if you do have those, it doesn't last as long. It's not as severe because your brain is more optimized.
So if I'm hearing this as just someone listening to the broadcast, and I'm thinking, well, you're saying it's for everybody, but is there what are the things that should make someone think, hey, maybe I need to look into more brain-based chiropractic? Or are there specific things outside of rapid eye movement concerns or neck concerns, the things that normally bring someone to see a chiropractor? What would make somebody seek out brain-based chiropractic?
Yeah. So like we said at the beginning, a lot of patients that we do see are still have chronic neck pain and back pain, right? But again, why do we have neck pain and back pain? That's kind of what we're delving more into, but it could be neck pain, back pain. It could be a lot of headaches. Migraineurs is a big one. Dizziness, balance issues. Some people have
Okay.
like vertigo, right? Concussions. Now, this concussion could have been 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, or well over 2 years ago,
Okay.
right? Because it's going back to those compensations. We can compensate, keep compensating until we can't, right? And the other one would be, again, just I don't have a lot of pain, tightness, and discomfort, but I want to be able to trust movements more. I want to be able to, a lot of us are on a computer screen for 6, 7, 8 hours, then we want to go and
Sadly.
work out. Those are two different things, right?
Right.
We got to make sure your body and brain can communicate no matter what you're doing.
That that gives some clarity there, and I wanna ask you because you mentioned it specifically, and it's something that's, occurred in my family about vertigo. I thought vertigo was just an inner ear thing.
You want the short answer or long answer? So, short answer,
The
right?
one that makes the greatest clarity.
Um, so we see this a lot where things like vertigo or my sciatica is acting up, right? We hear that a lot. Well, again, sciatica, right? Sciatica is a huge, huge nerve. It's actually the longest nerve in the body. For you to have true sciatica, it's kind of starts in the low back hip, but it has to run all the way down to the foot.
Okay.
And that same concept for vertigo, right? Vertigo is almost like a catch-all term. I would say almost 80% of people that have vertigo, it's okay. What does that mean to you? Well, I just stand up real quick and I kind of get lightheaded. Okay, well, that's different
Right.
than vertigo. Vertigo actually has a spinning component to it. Either you are spinning or you're staying still, but the world is spinning.
Many years ago, I experienced it, no alcohol was involved, but I
Yep.
sure felt like it had been.
No, and that's what it kind of feels like, right? So, yes, you can have it from your inner ear, right?
Okay.
So, if I'm looking at you and I do this, it's almost as if my eyes go to the left. Okay.
Right.
Sense? What can happen though is there's in the inner ear, there's different stones or crystals that can get dislodged and they go into these different canals that allow you to do different head movements. But if they get dislodged in there, it's like you're doing this over and over, but yet you're just staying still. So the brain, again, homunculus is like, wait a minute, I'm getting information as if you're doing this, but the neck is saying, no, I'm chilling out, I'm doing nothing. There's a disconnect, right?
That and the fact that you said that 80% of that of rough number, a large
Yeah,
percentage of
sure.
them may not be that inner ear imbalance, but in fact something else. That's very telling, and that's I enjoy when I learn new things. I learned something new just there.
Yeah. And vertigo, I mean, that's largely in the ear, but you can have vertigo even from like eye movements as well. Uh, a lot of times, if we're seeing eye movements and you're slowly going, but we're seeing these beats. Every time you do a beat, it's almost as if the world is like going past you. You do that over and over. Wait a minute, my eyes aren't moving, but yet I'm getting signals as
But
if
I'm
they
but
are.
I'm feeling like there's motion.
Right. Exactly.
Okay, well then I've got a few folks with in my immediate proximity that'll be coming to see you. Um, What's it look like to come in for, an evaluation? Do you have big scary machines that, scan the brain? How does it, what does it look like to come for a visit?
Yeah. So this is where being a functional neurologist comes into play. None of what we do is invasive. We're not taking the brain out and looking at it, dissecting it,
Well, thank
right?
goodness for that.
I know, right? So each visit, the first visit, right, can go anywhere from 45 minutes to almost an hour and a half long. The big reason for that is the first visit is where we're getting all your information. You're coming in, I'm not going to assume anything. You could be coming in with, I've had 3 concussions in the last 2 days. I'm getting super, super dizzy. I'm nausea, throwing up, or hey, I just have some pain here. Okay. I'm not going to assume anything. Again, we have to break those 3 systems down. We have to look at balance, reaction time, eye movements. Definitely with the chiropractic part, looking at the spine, looking at differences from left and right, range of motion. Again, it all gives me and it gives us a bigger window and picture into what's going on, right? Because you could have these signs and symptoms, but you having these signs and symptoms aren't telling me anything. It's just letting us know that there's something wrong, but not what's wrong.
So you've got to work to kind of get a deeper understanding.
Correct. Yep. So once we have that information, then we have kind of our care plan of X, Y, and Z, which should always be getting better. I'm a big proponent in not just patient education, but also giving you at-home exercises.
Okay.
Because we could see you for 45 minutes each visit or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever it is. But what are you doing the next week, week and a half, 2 days, or whatever it is between now and the next visit? If you're not, we've all played sports, right? So we've all heard practice makes perfect.
Right.
Should be practice makes permanent. It's March Madness right now, right? If I'm shooting a free throw and I do that 99 times wrong and I don't change anything, but yet I'm expecting that 100th time to be
Perfect.
perfect,
Right.
that doesn't make sense at all. It's the same thing in the body and brain, right? If we're not, um, the stuff we do in the office, if we're not in some form or fashion giving you that same thing outside of here to keep working on, right? Practice, right? We're not going to get better.
So let me ask this because I think specifically the field of medicine that you're in, there's a lot of this, and I want to ask what are one or two of the biggest misconceptions people have about the work that you do?
Um, well, that's a really good question. I would say one is I have to have some form of pain, tightness, and discomfort to come in.
So if it's not broken, don't try to fix it.
Right. Now, I will say, we just said pain, tightness, and discomfort is just another sign and symptom. The interesting with pain is the last thing to come on. So before you have pain, we got to look at dizziness, balance issues. Again, everything we've been talking about, right? Because once you have pain, that's letting us know you probably had whatever this is for a while. And that pain is just that alarm signal. Okay, I need you to help me, please. Right.
Okay,
But you've
and
had
that's a
issues.
really good way to illustrate it, that it's sort of the last flag up, right? That
Right.
I've tried to compensate for this every which way. It's time for you to do something about it.
Exactly. So that'd be probably one. Two would be, again, money is money, right? It probably costs an arm and a leg. That's all relative, right? Um,
Sure.
Trying to, again, this is where we blend the chiro and the neuro, right? No matter who you are, the biggest thing is I try to attack it as hard as we can first, as long as it makes sense for your body. I'm a big proponent in everyone being a lifelong patient, but again, a lifelong patient doesn't mean it's 2 times a week for the next 3 years. If we're doing that, we're probably doing something wrong,
Well,
right?
and you used a term that I wanted to ask you to clarify, and I've heard it in the distant past. You use the term care plan. So
Yeah.
what is a care plan as opposed to just a regular visit?
So a regular visit is just what we're doing that day,
Okay.
right? So every time, once I get done seeing a patient, I always email them what we did today, what we're doing next week, right? And kind of what's our first big or two goals, right? Because we need to have goals in some form or fashion. And that goal needs to be more than just I want to get out of pain. Everyone does. That's gonna be we're always gonna get that better, right? And look at it.
Right.
Other than that, right, is it um, allow you to ski more? Is it allow you to just pick up your little one on your right without pain coming on? It's that's where these functional goals come into play. But we can't do that if we don't have a care plan, right? If we're just trying to see, oh, let's just see when you have pain. Now we're just chasing pain, right? We'll get you better. We'll get you out of pain. But we just said pain's the last thing to come on.
Right. Well, you don't bring your car in for an oil change once and say, "That's it. I never have to do this again."
Right. And that's what I mean, exactly with that, right? That's where maintenance comes into play. My goal is maybe once or twice a month, once we get you to where we need to be, because in a month span, we're doing a lot, right? if it's work, working out, stress, and anxiety. So can we at least maintain that, but always try to get to optimization?
Well, and that makes sense to me. So if I come to see you because my neck hurts and we work through however long it takes to work through whatever the issue is, chances are, unless it was a once in a lifetime occurrence, it's probably the way that I live my life that led to my neck pain.
Yeah.
And if I don't have some type of ongoing maintenance planned for it, I'm likely to be back there, I imagine, in some period of time when it starts to hurt again.
Right. And we're going to keep doing the same thing over and over, right? Just like you're working out. You have a workout of, I want to squat 300 pounds. You get to it. Are you just going to stop working out for the rest of your
That's it.
life?
I'm done.
Oh, I did it. Done. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. It does. I can't thank you enough because, as I said, I enjoy learning new things, and I feel like I learned quite a bit here today.
Thank
Um,
you.
any words of guidance to leave people with that they should think about just as they're going about their daily life as someone who's an expert in all three of the systems that they should be aware of?
And last thing I'll say is not even talking about the systems, but I live kind of by a motto, if you will. And I actually have this. I don't know if you can see it here. I
I can see that there are words, but
There
I
are,
can't
right?
quite
So
read.
it's a phrase, I think, Mark Twain said this, or at least is credited saying it, says, "There are two important events in your life: the day you were born and the day you find out why."
That's
So
pretty
my
good.
last thing would be find your why, no matter what that is.
I like that. That's a great way to
Yeah.
end it. Dr. Walker, what's the best way for folks to get a hold of you and Brain Spine Chiropractic?
Yeah, so Instagram, there's brainspine_chiro. You can give us a call or even text. Actually better
Okay.
at texting, honestly, 470-407-9752 or our website at brainspinechiropractic.com.
And we'll publish all of those links just so that if somebody didn't hear it or didn't grab a pen in time, so that everybody will be able to find that. I can't thank you enough. As I said, it's always a joy for me when I get to learn something new. And you really, really opened my eyes on a number of different subjects. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua.
My
It was a
my
pleasure.
my guest today has been the incredible Dr. Zach Walker, a chiropractor and functional neurologist. He's the founder of Brain Spine Chiropractic in Marietta, Georgia, where he works to improve performance and address root causes of pain and dysfunction. His approach goes beyond traditional chiropractic care, focusing on the connection between brain, balance, and the movement to uncover what's really driving the symptoms. Thank you again, doctor. And also I do have to remind everybody that today's episode is brought to you in part by the Community Partner Program, the Business Radio X Main Street Warriors, defending capitalism, promoting small business, and supporting our local community. For more information, go to mainstreetwarriors.org. And a special note of thanks to our title sponsor for the Cherokee chapter of Main Street Warriors, Diesel David Inc. Please go check them out at dieseldavid.com. My name is Joshua Kornitsky. I am a professional implementer of the entrepreneurial operating system, and we just can't thank you enough for listening. Please join us again next time.